Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a registered nurse with experience in cardiology, med-surg, long-term care, and extensively in hospice. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm glad that you're visiting. In this channel, we talk about things like book writing, which is going to be part of today's topic, various things, nursing, more prone to the hospice side of the fence, looking at chronic illnesses and diseases that become terminal, and looking at comfort care with hospice or palliative care on the journey to hospice, anticipatory grief, grieving. Many of the last episodes were very specific for hospice nurses. Today we're taking a switch, and this is actually off my normal beaten path of scheduling, which is typically a video Wednesdays and Fridays. But for today's episode, I thought I'd like to take you on a journey of how I end up creating my own book covers for books that I write. With that said, before I go much further, I do like to start off every episode with following my own advice that I give to everyone who ever watches my videos or if we ever talk in person. Please, every single day, and when you're able throughout the day, find areas that you could be grateful for and vocalize them either in your own head or out loud. Since I just published Friday, I don't have a laundry list, which I guess is a good thing for you watching. But today, Laura and we moved from York County, Pennsylvania, South Central Pennsylvania to Central Kentucky late last year. We moved from a much larger home, but we had what my wife would refer to as a postage-sized lot, meaning that it was only several hundred square feet of yard space. So she's using a push mower. She's the one who loves mowing. I'm like, okay, if you want to mow, I don't mind, carrying buckets or doing certain things here and there. I'm the geeky nerd. I don't lift weights. Granted, I talk about carrying buckets of dirt. But if you want to mow, I am not going to complain. That's going to be blunt less for me to do. So she loves mowing, but here we moved to Kentucky. This is a much smaller house, but we have close to an acre of land, 70-75% out back where we're doing a vegetable garden, and about 20-25%, maybe 30% out front. So she said, I need a riding mower. This is going to just take too long pushing. And I love my wife dearly. And even though mowers, especially the riding, aren't more than I'd love to spend, happy wife, happy home, my saying. Others, I know I get asked on a regular basis, what about the husband? I'm not going there this video or others. So we did go out and, bought a riding lawnmower that we'll get sometime next week. And then we went out to Orchard, Kentucky. I gotta love the names. We went to an orchard in Orchard, Kentucky, no pun intended. And one of the things that we are raising vegetables. We also want to have trees that produce fruit. So in almost every home that we've lived in, we've had some type of tree, but we've never had fruit producing tree. So we got a Honeycrisp apple tree, and Arkansas, I may be killing the pronunciation. I know sometimes it's Arkansas versus Arkansas. I believe it's called a black diamond apple, where the apple actually looks black. Laura and I never had any of this, so I have no idea. But looking at what it's supposed to taste like, this might be interesting. As well as a dogwood tree. That's the only non-fruit producing tree that we got for out front. Just as a reminder of Laura's parents are no longer with us. So I'm grateful that we had that. It was a very adventurous morning, because Orchard, Kentucky was an adventure to get there and an adventure back home. And I'm grateful we were able to do that. And we're so close to the 500 books sold month mark that come the end of this month, we'll cross over the 500 books sold. So thank you, everyone reading and buying the books. So what I'm going to be showing you shortly in terms of keeping things moving, it is an overview of your options for creating your own book covers. So I'm not going over the options of well, having somebody do this for you. I looked at that when I wanted to write my first book. I looked at, and by the way, the book cover of the original is different than this cover. But when I wanted to write this, it's like, gee, do I go to Fiverr? How do I hire somebody that's not going to, I'm going to be very blunt with my terminology, not going to rip me off, but give me something of value. And then finding out that the average cost to have a book cover designed by a professional is $500 on up. And when you're writing your very first, this is my first book written, I didn't know if I'd sell one or several hundred. And this is one that typically every single month I sell over 100 a month. This is the best seller. So I talk about selling over 500. 100 to close to 150, maybe 200 will be this book. And then the others will be, all the different other, books that I've written. And so I'm thinking, gee, without knowing how many of this will sell, do I want to spend $500 on up for somebody to design this? And so I thought, let me do it myself. And my original designs were using Canva, the free version, canva.com. But I have since switched to the paid version. I strongly recommend the paid version. I'm not giving out any affiliate links. I don't make money if you go out and you subscribe to Canva. I just really believe in their product. But one of the products that I also use, and I use the unpaid version, is Ideogram. Ideogram is an AI application, and to me, it's the best one out there for creating book covers because most of the time it will get the text correct. So when I show you this overview shortly, I'm going to be scrolling through and you'll be seeing some of the examples. And while I did not point them out in the overview, you'll see some examples of, it's ugly, the spelling is like way off. How did you misspell that word? But for the most part, it gets the words correct. So a lot of the books, and I'm not saying it's a confession because to me, if you do your homework, most authors out there that are self-producing, they're using AI for the book covers. And I have no doubt for some of the book covers that you buy from professionals that they're using AI at least as a portion of the design. So for Ideogram made this book cover. I put together the whole picture, in, so to speak, in Canva, but there are some book covers it literally just printed last night, the print copy for clinical pharmacology. I did not order the author copy yet because I'm trying to decide, do I want an author copy of the paperback or do I want an author copy of the hardcover? I'm frugal. I'm mentioning unpaid. I want to just pick one, and the Amazon's giving me their version of a hard time with the hardcover, saying you need to expand the cover by 0.125 centimeters. I'm not kidding on the exact measurements. And it's like, I did. Why aren't you taking it? Don't want to go around the rabbit trail of venting. But that book, and I'll show you in a few moments in Canva, I ended up doing the whole thing in Canva. No artificial intelligence. Let me piece things together. So I will be writing a new book. I'll be starting the research next week on clinical pharmacology, tightly focused to hospice nurses. And this is one where I initially started, I created several idea concepts in Ideogram. And while some of you may look at them and saying, that's not bad, Peter, you should go with this cover or that cover. And by the way, if you're one of those, please comment in the comments below. Because this is going to probably be my longest time to write a book. Probably a better way to say this, because it's going to be tackling two key points that I'm going to bring out in the overview. And yes, I'm going to be repeating myself. But we as hospice nurses, when we are calling our provider, most of the time we should be giving an S-bar. Now, I wish we lived in the world of fine print. So the fine print is, I know there are nurses out there, and there are times I do this too. So I'm not saying I'm not guilty of this. I have no clue what to recommend. So I'll do the SBA, Situation Background Assessment, and go to the provider. What are your orders? Because I don't know what to recommend. But as we progress as a hospice nurse more and more, we should be the ones recommending the medication, the dose, and the frequency, and asking the doctor for a sign off. That's my personal experience, my personal opinion. You are free to have a different opinion. I'm not going to argue with you. This is a non-judgmental channel. I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong. Your way works for you. My way works for me. I've only encountered, I think, 3 doctors in multiple years that had their own version of just give me the SBA. I don't care what you think. And yes, I've had one of those 3 doctors say it pretty much that way. But we need to be able to go to the doctor with that S bar, and we need to be able to know the pharmacology from the standpoint their kidney functions are typically shot, even if they're not showing kidney failure as a diagnosis. One of the webinars I attended just a couple weeks ago, this year 2025, very recent data, one of the hospice medical directors was saying, even though it's not like, this is my paraphrase, I know we shouldn't assume, but they're going, assume they're at least CKD stage 3. I think she said 3B. So we need to take into account kidney function. And Dr. Kaplan, if you were ever watching my videos, this is one where, yes, you were right. I argued with that doctor over kidney function. But yes, she was right. And I'm not saying that there aren't cases where, we're going to do, it's patient comfort, kidneys be damned, no pun intended. I'm sorry for harder language. But we should at least be aware. We should be aware. But also, if we do have those doctors, the SBA, and they tell us what the orders are, we are the front line. We're supposed to protect the patient from harm to the best of our abilities. And so if a doctor gives us an order that will cause suffering, we need, my personal opinion, again, my personal experience, our ethics, doctor, we need to collaborate. Pause, please. We need to have a conversation. And so when this book, and again, I have not written a single sentence, I've come up with the thought process for it. I have one book I want to use as a research point for the book. This is going to be one of the references for the book because this does contain information about the Beers criteria, and I really love the Europeans' method of the STOPP method. But this is going to be one of the references. So I have a foundation for reference material. But this is probably going to be the amount of time that I'll invest in this book is going to be the longest time compared to all my books because I believe it's going to be a valuable book. Whether it sells, I don't know. I know that that's breaking. I'll have people that are business orders. You didn't do your market research if you don't know if you can sell one. I love writing. I'm doing it as much for me. And if one person buys it, it was enough for me to have, yes, I benefited. Hopefully they'll benefit. And then we go from there. But before I go on, let me show you this overview. And then when it's done, I'll come back for a real quick outro. And thank you. Want to learn how to create your own book covers if you're interested in publishing and writing. I choose to create my own book covers. I do use Ideogram, which is what you're seeing on the screen now. These are my creations over time. When is it time for hospice? As an FYI, I did not use the ebook cover that Ideogram created for clinical pathophysiology. I just was not happy with the output, but I did use it for clinical CBT applications. The Hope in Action book, if you see the heart, that's usually the book cover I ended up picking. Except I did not pick this one here. Actually, it is, okay, never mind. So, and I'll use it for different images here and there. But in terms of utilization, I do have the unpaid version. So you'll see I reached my free plan limit. Got to upgrade if I want to use it. Again, I did not bring you to, this video is not about Ideogram. I wanted to show you how do I create the book covers, especially when Ideogram isn't working. And in this particular case, just like with clinical pathophysiology, I wasn't too happy with the output. And you can only generate so many on the free plan per day. Here, I have to wait 6 more days for it to reset. But now I have some inspiration. So I like the idea of this particular cover here in terms of the color scheme. I do like the idea of the lamp. I was trying to find pharmaceutical symbols that make sense still in 2025. And I wanted to pick symbols since there are certain areas of pharmacology that can be very controversial. I didn't want to pick like the Claudius, if I'm pronouncing that anywhere near close, that has this, ooh, it's a snake. I figured let me go with Florence Nightingale with the lamp of knowledge. And there's different variations for any of you who do research on Florence Nightingale of the different type of lamps, but there's actually an image of her, carrying a lamp around to go see in the dark. So this book, by the way, I've not yet started writing. I've only started doing research. And this book is going to be extremely tightly honed for hospice nurses and hospice medical directors, as well as any type of physician who wants to know how do hospice nurses, how should we be thinking when somebody's on hospice? For instance, if we're the nurse, and I am a nurse, I have the provider, I have somebody that's in the last 14 days of life based on my clinical judgment. We believe they have UTI, they have trouble swallowing, and the provider says, I want them to be getting 500 milligrams of Cipro twice a day. Me as the nurse, if I'm engaging my brain, should be going, doctor, we have several things going on. I appreciate your giving me the order, but we need to discuss this. We're looking, I believe this patient has 2 weeks or less of life. We're looking at somebody with end-stage kidney failure that even if they're not on for end-stage kidney failure, if they're in the last 14 weeks of life, they're at least stage 3 or 4 kidney failure at that time. There are certain things that we have to take into account when somebody is terminally ill in the last 6 months of life that in other types of pharmacology, you don't really have to be concerned with. So I want this book, when I do start writing it, really tightly honed to guide for several reasons. One, as the nurse, when we call the doctor, how should we be critically thinking when we present the SBAR, situation background assessment recommendation, that we're giving the right information to the doctor. And then the second thing is that when the doctor, sometimes we call and we don't know what to recommend. So we're letting the doctor be the doctor, not that they're never the doctor, but they may say do X, Y, Z. We still have to have our critical thinking cap on to say, let's collaborate and here's why. So I don't want to stay too much on this page in addition to the browser bouncing up and down, but I want to show you what I do when I have an issue with Ideogram. So let me walk over to Canva. This is my Canva home screen. I do have the paid version of Canva. And so I do organize by folder and by series, recent designs. This, by the way, is a clinical pathophysiology book. Even though that's not going to be the main subject for today's agenda, but let me just open this up. And this is, an element here, the red block, and then text, and then text. This is an image that I pulled off the internet and I cleaned up the background, and another block, and text. So this is not AI generated in terms of the imagery. It's just using the tools available in Canva. And I'll also use, not being a Canva promotion, But like in that clinical pathophysiology, I have a section on graphics, the modeling, the breathing patterns. I'll do that in Canva as well. These are one of the ideogram images that you did see was when is it time for hospice? Question mark. So this is a book out there for. Oh, that's an older book. That's an older cover. I forgot. That's one that I replaced with the one with a question mark. So, but anyway, getting back into here, the clinical pharmacology. So here I went through and I'm like, out of these images, and this is a very personal, my opinion only. You might look at this and say, I like this color versus that color. But I went through this and I found this color to be what I like the most. I did originally try a color picker in my browser to say, okay, what is that color over here to try to use? That did not work out well. Let me just click on that to end it. I didn't end up liking that. So I went back to Canva. Before I go too far, went here. I actually liked the magic prompt for the transitioning. So I copied and pasted the gradient background AI piece. That's the portion of the prompt. I came back here and then I went to the application within Canva. Be honest, I'm not promoting Canva. I do not know if this app is paid versus not paid, but it's called Gradient Generator. And I came back here and I put in what I copied from Ideogram, and then originally it was generate versus regenerate, and then I'm going to then come over to the create part and use that as part of design. That gives me this screen here, and this is within that app. I can look at how do I create this radiant design. I am not a graphic artist. I'm just showing you the bare bones, which is why somebody who is a graphic artist can use Canva and create designs probably far better than I can. So I would come in here and, okay, I like this as a background. And then going back here again for inspiration, they just have the text on the background. So I might just go for that. So let me come back up here to text. I'm going to pick a heading. And come up with that. And we definitely need it to be a lot bigger. And 72 point. And so, okay, we'll say this is where we're going to place the title. As a side note, you'll see the 3 lines. And those 3 lines, the middle one is the center point, and then it just goes imaginary margins. They don't, the moment I remove my pressure point on my mouse, those go away. And then I can come back to, let's add a subtitle. I apologize for this because I did not memorize the entire title. And so these are just the different books that I've written. And here we go. There we go for the subtitle. Copy that. Come back to Canva. Paste that in. Let's see how that looks at 36 point. And might end up taking it to 52. Not sure. And as I'm walking you through this is not going to be the finalized design. This is just brainstorming. It made an extra one here, so we'll just go delete that. So here I actually like that lamp. So I have several choices for dealing with this. I can copy and paste that image of the lamp into Canva as is, or I could use the, let's do a capture point and bring this in. and just get it to the image itself. Make sure capture the selected photo, press the enter key. It captured. Let me go and grab that from the screenshot folder, copy that over, and now we can go back to Canva and I can paste, just Control V. And now I have that image brought in for me to manipulate, whether like here, for example, I may not like how this colors around the lamp blend, so I can just click on BG Remover. It'll scan. And before you know it, now look at the image just looks like it fits as part of the picture. And then let me go and add the body, and this would be for the, if I could spell my own name, and 52. And let me bring it down to here. Maybe make sure it's select, oops, make sure it's also, oh my word, keep selecting, and let's pick black on white. And granted, obviously, I did not capture 100% of the text. Oh my word, sorry about this. And make sure that we're black. There we go. And see how everything aligns, and it's not, if I don't like it, I don't think it's a min, I'll go up here, position, arrange. Since center is not highlighted, let me just move it off center. I can click on the center button, that moves it back. So I want that bolded. And this is just giving you a rough idea for brainstorming. I have more work to do with this, but this just gives you just a rough idea. Here's how you could use Canva, either taking stuff off the web, BG Remover, if it has a little castle, I should say the crown, that is a paid feature. So I do highly recommend canva.com if you're out there doing books. I've looked at hiring professionals to do my book covers, but the prices range from several $100s to several $1,000s. I'd rather just do my own thing with that. And there are books where I was just like, let me just go and piece things together. And hey, it's coming out okay. And so I'm just scrolling through just to give you an idea of the different, all the different book covers, the different designs. This is an internal add-on for, I believe, the hospice conditions participation book. There's just so much that you could do with Canva, YouTube thumbnails. That was one of our puppies, no longer with us. And it's just such a wonderful tool. And the free version will take you miles. So I do believe I've emphasized in what you saw. This book cover is not yet done. I was just trying to give you the bare bones. If you can't get AI to create the cover, but you like the color scheme, how do you get that into Canva, and how do you start placing the elements? And if there happens to be an image that you like out there on the internet, do be careful of copyrights and so on and so forth. How you can copy that image into Canva and have that become a part of your book cover. If you have any questions on any of this, on any of the previous videos, on writing books, on Peter, what's your system? Maybe that'll be a future video of mine of like, what is my system for how do I write so many? What I'll give you is real quick, and I'm watching the time as this outro is recording because I did say it was going to be a short outro. If I was working for somebody else, we are talking typically 8 hours. We're talking about people coming in and out of whatever cubicle or office you're in. You're talking about 15-minute breaks every so many hours. I think it's every 4. You're talking about lunchtime, uh, email management, all these different interruptions. I love what I do. So there are times where it's approaching midnight and I'm on a roll and I'm going to be typing away. And I have a system in place of here's how I do my research, here's how I organize my thoughts. I'm using Todoist, I'm using Notion. Again, I don't want to go over the system, be too long of an outro. But it's what I love to do. But if you have any questions, please ask. I really love helping people. That's why I love being a nurse in the first place. If I can help you, fine. If it's something where it's like, wait a second, this is really turning into something consulting, I'll raise the red flag. Side note on that, I've brainstormed with hospice nurses often, sometimes for 2 or 3 hours, zero charge, because I love all of you. I appreciate all of you. You're my colleagues, even if we're in different states or different parts of the country. I adore what you're doing for your patients. And that's why I write my books. If I can help you, I love helping my patients. I love being of service. So if you have questions, ask. If I don't know the answer, I'm not going to BS you. I don't know. I don't know. But before I go on much longer, thank you so much for your time. Like, comment, subscribe. God bless, and bye.